Welcome to the Men of Iron podcast, guys. Hey, we're grateful to have you back. Again, just a quick reminder to share this with your network, with your community, to subscribe, leave some reviews. That is helpful to Men of Iron and helps us grow this podcast community, and we would be grateful if you would do so. We've been on this topic of a man's voyage. We've been through parts 1 and 2. We've talked about the significance of why, the significance of purpose in our lives. And it's in Matthew 22, verses 34 through 38, that Jesus says our greatest efforts should be focused on loving God, because it's a relationship with Him as men that should be our first and greatest commandment. It is the bullseye. It's the center. It's the why of our life. We talked about that in episode 1 here, or part 1 of this, I should say. But it should be the single most important thing in our lives. And you see, the world around us, it tries to define our voyage by kind of who we are as individuals. But Jesus shows us that it's about wholly loving the all-powerful creator of the universe. And Jesus' simple response in this passage of Matthew 22, 34 through 38 gives clear insight into our voyage as men. You see, our greatest purpose is to love God with all of our hearts and with all of our souls and with all of our minds. And our greatest joy, the greatest fulfillment is going to come from knowing Him deeply and being known by Him. And so we want to encourage all of us to commit to this voyage, because it's in Matthew 28, verses 16 through 20, the Great Commission, that Jesus speaks His last words to the men that were closest to Him. Now, if you've ever watched a loved one, take their last breath, or you've listened to their last words, like you know what a powerful moment this probably was for the disciples. Jesus isn't necessarily in this passage saying goodbye, but he's looking at these men who love Him, and He leaves them with a charge. He basically says, listen, go, make disciples, baptize them, teach them to obey everything I have taught you. And you see, similar to the greatest commandment, the Great Commission is really simple, but yet it's super powerful, right? And it helps us understand what should transpire when we are in true relationship with Jesus. You see, the disciples had such deep, meaningful relationships with Jesus that they took this charge to heart. It was a serious matter for these men. Loving Him, telling others about Him, it started to define their voyage. And you see, the same should hold true for us. If we are in a deep, meaningful relationship with Christ, then we will take this charge to heart and we will dedicate our voyage to it. You see, Jesus' words in Matthew 22, in Matthew 28, they prove that our true purpose as men is not rooted in what we do for a living or even in the responsibilities that we manage each day. Rather, our why, men, is simple: love God and make disciples. You see, our voyage should be focused on following the greatest commandment and living out the Great Commission. You see, aiming for these two things is what's going to drive us out of bed with passion and zeal each morning. I promise you. It's going to lead all of us on this meaningful, influential, and very adventurous voyage. And it's only like godly leadership and strength will only develop in our lives as men when we focus first on why we exist: to love God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, and with all of our mind. And Jesus says that loving God is the single most important thing we will ever do. And we as men, we will only flourish, guys, when our relationship with Him is top priority. Loving Him, receiving His love, it's got to be the bullseye that we aim for each day. And there's no perfect formula for that, but we do need to prepare to kind of anchor down into this relationship with God. And so our challenge for this week is to take 10 minutes. Again, pull out that journal, and we want to encourage you guys to communicate to God what is currently getting in the way of your true purpose. Maybe explain your past and present experiences and when trying to develop your relationship with God. What beliefs, what commitments, what distractions have held you back from knowing Him better and being known by Him? Maybe write this out, share your thoughts and responses with a friend, share it with a mentor, share it with an accountability partner. But high level, what we want you to do is take 10 minutes, journal. What's getting in the way of your one true purpose? What's getting in the way of you and your relationship with Christ? We'll talk to you guys soon.